Guys, so I got some really good news. If you watched my last video, then you already know the announcement that I'm about to make, and that is that I paid off my student loans, y'all. Oh my gosh, I have no more student loans. It is done. I paid them off in 9 months, y'all. I went crazy. And I just want to talk to you about my student loan journey. Want to just give you an overview of my journey with student loans, as well as how much I paid off as well, because I know you're wondering that too. But before I get started, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Hey guys, Happy New Year. Are you tired of your student loan debt? If you've been following my channel, then you know I'm paying off my last student loan. So I have came up with 8 easy and practical steps for you to do the same thing. Want to know how I paid off $11K in less than a year? Click the link in the description box below. Bye. Hey y'all, so I am in my office and I am about to pay off my student loans. Y'all, I'm so excited right now. So watch me do it. So I was going to show a video of me paying off my student loans, but it had just too much personal information on it. And y'all know scammers be scamming, but here you go. Here's my zero balance. All right, y'all, so about a week ago, I'm actually recording this video on Friday. I will air it tomorrow, Saturday. But a week ago, I paid off my student loans. I made my last payment. My last payment was actually $1,133.26. And I was able to make that payment right at my desk, y'all, at work. I actually had a little hiccup at first because as I was checking my emails that morning, I got an email saying that my student loans had been transferred, or they were going to be transferred. You know, Fed Loan right now is transferring all of their student loans to a new loan holder. But I knew that was coming, but I'm like, oh, my balance is almost done. They probably, they starting with the folks who have, like a lot more. But no, I got an email last Friday saying that they were going to be transferred, and I went to go and pay it through my mobile app, because that's typically how I would make my payments, and it wouldn't let me. Like, that option was gone. So I was like so disappointed. I'm like, I plan to pay them off this morning. They're saying that they're going to be transferred to Mohila by February 11th, which is like next week. I was like, what? No, I want to do this like today. But I actually called, and the person who I spoke with, they let me know, yes, you can still, go ahead and do that payment, because technically your loans are still with us. They're not going to be transferred until then. So I was able to, while you can't make payments on your loans, if they are going to be transferred, you can do like a pay off. So, I had the $1,100 balance, and I went online on the actual desktop computer, and I was able to make the payment through the loan pay off tool that was in FedLoan. So thinking about my student loan journey, I am a first-generation college student. I was a first-generation bachelor's, master's, and doctoral student once I get that degree in a few years. But in my bachelor's degree, I did receive a scholarship that covered everything during the fall and the spring. So housing, books, meal plan, all of that. But it did not cover the summer semester. So during the summer semester, I would take out a student loan. I'm just thinking like now, like I'm not sure why I didn't look for scholarships. I think like as a first generation student, when you don't know how to navigate the system, when you're unsure on how all of this works and everybody else is doing one thing, you are more likely to follow that. So that's a mistake that I made. I didn't look for scholarships, during the summer, which was something that I could have done, especially now, someone who's getting like all of this scholarship money. That's something that I definitely could have done better. So if you are an undergraduate student and you're watching this and you have something like what I had that covered my fall and spring but not my summer, then now it's February. Now is when you start to look for scholarships for the summer. The summer semester starts in May, June, depending on, what part of the summer that you want to take. But now it starts now. Look for those scholarships. Sometimes I think as an undergraduate student, well, not as an undergraduate student, but as a first generation student, when you see everybody else doing one thing, like taking out loans, and you're like, okay, this is how this thing works. And no, it doesn't have to work that way. I could have found scholarships, but I just didn't. And that's one of my regrets, because I know that I could have found scholarships, but I did not look for them at all. So please, just because you get one scholarship and it's like, oh yeah, I did good, it's taking care of 1, 2, 3. Don't stop until all of it is covered, because that can happen. You can find scholarships. And then how scholarships work are that you typically need more than one. So, keep going, keep looking for those scholarships, keep getting those scholarships, until everything is covered. And then the money that you receive as a refund, that's what you can live off of. That's what you can save. So that's my advice, definitely, for anyone who is a first generation college student and who and if your story kind of looks like mine. And just think about, the amount of student loans that I took out during my undergraduate experience. It wasn't a lot. So like the biggest loan that I took out was $5,400, which was actually my last student loan that I paid off last week. But those amounts add up. As soon as you take that loan out, it is accruing interest. Many folks don't even know what the interest rate is. And I know the interest rates are much higher now, but that's something that you want to keep in mind. As soon as you take that student loan out, it is beginning to accrue interest. It's going to be something totally different from what you took out, and interest accrues daily. I did not realize that until I really got into my financial journey, and I was paying something off like last year, and I went to pay it off, but when I went back to look at it, like a few cents were on there, and I'm like, oh wow, interest accrues daily. Now, right now, interest is not accruing for federal loans due to the ban in place by the government. But, that's supposed to be going away May 1st, I believe. So those loans are going to accrue interest. And that's something that you really, really want to keep in mind, because that's not really explained thoroughly. It wasn't explained to me. I didn't understand it until last year. So, please keep that in mind. So let's hop over to my master's degree. So in my master's degree, I got a scholarship. I got a full ride scholarship. Again, everything was paid for except for fees. I had to pay fees, and they were pretty inexpensive. I want to say they were no more than $300. And I also I went on a lot of conferences for free, got reimbursed for food and things like that. So it was a really, really great scholarship that I got that paid for my master's in counselor education. But I actually had moved to a new city at that time, and I was a teacher. So if you're a teacher, you know that we have 2 payment options where you can get your payments kind of broken up during the year, where they kind of put a little away for the summer, so you can have something for the summer. But by the time I moved, that payment option, I couldn't do it, because you have to do it by a certain time. It's typically in the previous school year. And y'all, I panicked. I was like, oh Lord, what I'm gonna do for the summer? I just moved to this new city. And I don't know why, I have this more this hustler mentality now, where, I could have just got a job. And then I lived in Miami, y'all. I could have found something to do that would have took care of me for those few weeks during the summer. But I took out a student loan. Everybody else is doing it. Why not? It wasn't a big student loan at all. It was, I want to say they were $5,000 each. So yeah, $10,000 it's overall, and that was previous to the interest. So I did that for 2 summers. Instead of just getting out there, putting my, pedal to the metal and making some money. But I chose to go, the easy route. So that's another regret that I definitely have, because moving through this financial journey that I'm on, y'all, when I tell y'all, it's I just been attracting money. I've been hustling, I've been, creating my own business, and just doing a lot of things that would generate a bigger income. I could have did those same things then, but sometimes we panic and we make terrible financial, decisions, and that was one that I made. So once again, I got, another full ride scholarship, but I still, was not making the best financial choices, especially regarding my education. So my advice for like a graduate student watching this who possibly was in that same, situation that I was in, my advice would be to get a side hustle. If you already have a job, look for other ways to supplement that income. So what can you do? What skills do you have that you could generate an income from? Like as I like really got used to Miami life, and I started doing, I did, what was it? It was Lyft. I did Lyft. But if you live in like these bustling cities or near these bustling cities, there are a lot of things, that are open, especially right now, y'all. They are begging people to take on some of these jobs. They have increased the wages. So if that's you, and as somebody who was in a graduate program that was not online and that was working, that worked full time throughout that entire program, you are able to supplement your income some way or somehow. When things need to be paid for, when those needs arise, you kind of see what you're really made of, and what you're willing to get out there and do. Most graduate students, they are working, and there are some folks who feel like, oh, I can't work for XYZ. But I know for me, I definitely wish that I just would have got out there and started living much earlier, or just like got like in one of these restaurants, washed some dishes, swept a floor, did whatever I could have did to not have that extra student loan debt. Thinking about what changed for me, like over the last year regarding my student loans, because to be honest, y'all, like I never had intentions on paying them things. Because you hear people like, oh, I ain't paying that, I'm taking that to the grave, and they can get it, from wherever, blah blah blah. I ain't paying it, basically. And I kind of had that same mentality too, like coming out of undergrad, coming out of master's. Like I really never had intentions on paying that stuff back. Now I was a special education teacher for several years, so I actually got a portion of my loans forgiven as well. So and even after I got them forgiven, like I still had some to pay back, but I just was like, that wasn't like on my to-do list. I had no intentions, of paying it. But in September 2020 is when I started my financial journey, and I knew that was one of my debts. A debt is something that you owe, and anything that you owe. I wanted to be free. I wanted to not have to worry about all these payments. One day I do want to have a family, and I don't want my family like to have to pay for like the consequences of bad financial decisions that I made. And that's what really. And then I wanted to enjoy my paycheck. Sometimes I remember getting a paycheck, and it's just like, what did I even get paid for? Because, it's gone. I got all these bills. And that was kind of, my mind changed like about money. My mind changed about just being more responsible regarding my money. Because I'm a pretty rigid person in like everything in my life. But in my money, like I wasn't. So that was something that I had to change. And just my mindset, like, I think when you're paying off student loans, your mindset has to change. You have to get out of the mentality that everybody else is in. I ain't paying that, and I can't pay it. You have to really just change your outlook. And I changed my outlook to wanting to be financially free. I changed my outlook to not being, ashamed or reticent to go on and take on a side hustle. I remember like back in the day, like I used to think people with 2 jobs were like poor. I used to think like, why are you working like 2 jobs? Like, oh my gosh. But, I had to change like my mindset about that, because I think our culture, like sometimes it does kind of make us, feel like embarrassed to go and deliver food or to go and work at that restaurant or grocery store like on the weekends. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have a purpose, what you're trying to do. I do follow other Dave Ramsey principles, and one thing that he always says is, work like no one else so you can work like no one else later. And that's what I plan, to do. So, my mind just has totally shifted about so many things regarding money. And that is my advice to anybody who's watching this and who wants to pay off their student loans is change your mindset, change your perspective. How could you more positively, think about how you're going to pay off your student loans? What does that look like for you? Oh, guys, I never even mentioned how much I paid off. So I paid off $14,180 and some change in 9 months. So less than a year. So yes, I was hitting it hard. I was doing Uber Eats and DoorDash. Yeah, I was out there on Christmas this past year doing Uber Eats and DoorDash. I made like 80 something dollars in like 2 hours. That Sunday I made $100 in like 3 hours. So I was hustling. So I did food delivery. I started teaching courses on the weekends. I made an ebook and I got a lot of funds from that. And then, of course, I got on a real live budget that I am very, very strict about. Y'all know I use cash envelopes. I have a video for that. So those are some of the things that I did in order to really just get my income up there. I got a raise or two like in there as well. But the main thing, y'all, the key to paying off your student loans, the key to how I did it is that you are going to have to get a second and a third job. Some of y'all are gonna have to get a fourth, but you are going to have to get another job. That is how I paid off my student loans and how others are doing it. You're right. For folks who are saying, well, you only had 14,000, I got 80, You could have paid off the same amount that I paid off in the span of time, that I paid off. But yeah, you're right. You are going to have to get another job. You're not going to be able to do it on that income. And that's something that's hard for like a lot of folks to hear because that means sacrifice. So yeah, I'm not the person who's going out to eat with you on the weekends or who's going on this trip, who's going to buy this or that. I'm not that person right now, and I'm okay with that. And that's another thing. You really have to be okay with saying no. I was a teacher, so I'm used to telling people no. Teachers, we always tell people no. But you have to get comfortable with saying no to the things that you like to do. So I do not eat out unless somebody else pays for it. I do not, like go out and do like concerts and things like that. It's a pandemic anyway. So, so I don't do things like that. There is a lot of sacrifice, and sometimes it doesn't feel good, within that moment to say no. But seeing my balance drop like it did, it was all worth it. I wouldn't do the student loans again, but I would definitely sacrifice, as hard as I have over the past several months. Another thing I would recommend is, make sure you're aware of who you're surrounding yourself around. So if you want to pay off your student loans, but everybody around you is kind of like on that other side, well, we ain't paying these things off and they gonna die with us, you may need to change the folks, that you are surrounding yourself with. Because there may be some folks who may not be ready to step into that right now. Which is fine, but that doesn't mean that they have to discourage you, like along the way, like, why are you doing that, because I have friends who have student loans that they're not paying them off, but they didn't like discourage me from doing so. So I would recommend definitely, be mindful of who you're hanging around and make sure you have that support system to keep kind of pushing you through. So for anybody who's watching this, the federal ban on payment to interest is supposed to expire on May 1st. It has been extended, like several times, but right now your loans are not accruing interest. You have about 90 days to make something happen. So don't feel like, I'm just getting started, it's too late. It's never too late to make a change. So I would encourage you, go ahead and go crazy in these 90 days. And who knows, it may get the federal ban on payments and interest and may get extended again. I'll definitely be reporting on that. But don't feel like it's too late. You know, your loans aren't taking on interest. There are folks who were able to pay off their student loans because the interest has just, it stopped, and that really helped people to get ahead. So if that's you, go in there. Don't be afraid to look at your balance, because I know there's a lot of folks who don't even know, like how much their student loans are. Check your balance. Get comfortable. Don't get comfortable with that number, but let that number scare you into making a change. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Drop down in the comments. Let me know if you are paying off your student loans, if there's any tips or advice that I could possibly give you. I'm going to create a document soon where I'm really going to go a little more into depth with the steps that you can take to pay off your student loans quick, because that's another thing. You want to be making double, triple payments. That's how you pay it off quick as well. You don't just want to be feeding it like a pet. You want to get rid of it pretty fast. So also, y'all, Miss Dugan does have a tip jar. I'm giving you all this inspiration and information. Make sure you check out my tip jar down below in my description box. All things help. But I hope this video was helpful for you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you subscribe to my weekly email list. I send out an email every week. Shout out to all of my email subscribers who email me and ask me questions and who support me. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Y'all, I am free of student loans. Thank you, Jesus.